Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Minnesota State Park Hiking Club Trail Series. Today, we traveled to Waterville, Minnesota to take the State Park Hiking Club Trail at Sakatah Lake State Park. Sakatah Lake State Park was opened to the public in 1967. The area of the park was never logged and as a result drew the attention of the state, which led to it becoming a state park. The forests within the park are old, and you can see it as you walk through the trail. It gives an old forest feel similar to Nerstrand Bigwood. The park sits within the transition zone between the Big Woods region and the Southern Oak Barrens region. The park and surrounding area was inhabited by the Dakota Sioux, who called it the Singing Hills area. A fun historical fact is that the Sakatah Lake is west of Cannon Lake by way of Cannon River, a convenient method of travel back in the day, and in 1826 Alexander Fairbolt established a trading post on Cannon Lake. And it must have been pretty successful as he ended up opening another 5 additional trading posts along the Cannon River. The Singing Hills State Trail connects Lake Sakatah and Cannon Lake, and there's a parking lot over by Cannon Lake if you really want to challenge yourself and make this a full-day hike. Wildlife within the park is similar to those within the same region. Of course, you'll likely see deer and squirrels, but minks and coyotes are also commonly seen inhabitants. In the way of birds, there are hawks, woodpeckers, songbirds, and owls as well that you can see within the park. Like many other parks in central Minnesota, there are telltale signs of the glaciers and their hand that form the geological area. The hiking club trail starts from a parking lot a little way into the park before the camping area. It then takes you directly into the woods, but curves slightly right before running parallel with the road for a spell. This unfortunately means the first section of the trail will likely be periodically interrupted by the sounds of passing traffic, and it's a particularly busy road, so any respite will be brief. After you turn into the park more, it becomes much quieter and more serene. The forest is old and the undergrowth is less than some of the other parks, which allows you to see deeper into the trees. It gives some really nice views. There are sections where a tree has collapsed and the underbrush has grown as trees race to the canopy to cover the wound, but that only adds to the beauty of the scene. Throughout the trail, there were numerous spots where trees were overhanging the trail, either by leaning or having fallen and being precariously perched on another tree. It's not a trail I'd like to take in a storm, as I imagine those logs of trees will fall down eventually, and I'd prefer not to be underneath them when they do. It does create a cool atmosphere of a kind of way in the deep, untouched forest feel. However, it makes the backdrop of the hike just that much more considerably interesting. The trail itself winds around the park, and about halfway through the trail it passes through the campground, a convenient path for those of us that perhaps tend to overdrink water while we're on the trail, and there are facilities there that are only a small detour from the path to utilize. This also provides a decent starting point if you decide to camp at Lake Sakatah when you're doing the hike. A common occurrence at some of the other state parks, and very nifty for anyone who has to travel several miles to check off one of these hiking club trails and prefers to camp at the state park, so that's kind of nice. My favorite part of the trail is about halfway through the trail where there's an intersection of the trail, and at this point there are kind of numerous trees hanging over the trail, and it just kind of it looks like this is an ancient wilderness. The trees are half fallen, they're covered with moss in such a way that it just gives you this unknown feeling like you're out in the wilderness. Really enjoyable, my favorite part of hiking, really. The only downside is this other trail that intersects at this point leads directly to the Singing Hills Trail, so there can be a tad more traffic than other parts of the park, but it's still my favorite by far. Just that kind of archaic, mossy, fallen tree, deep forest feel. It's the best. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, don't forget to let us know your favorite trails in your local area.